college football is back. We are very excited. We could not be more pleased. It's a big day. Even though we don't have big teams playing, Power 5 conferences aren't really getting started, but we got some games. We're going to get to them. I'm going to break them down. Usually I would break this down from a DFS perspective. You're playing DraftKings, FanDuel. I'd break them down from that perspective. If you play Fantrax, fantasy football, I'd break that down. That's a little weird this year. DraftKings doesn't even have it up right now, so no prices or anything to go over. I'll be covering betting a little bit, but that's not usually my forte. We got some other folks at the breakdown to do that. So basically, I just give you a preview for what's going on this week's games, and I tell you what to look for. All right, so first up on the card here, here's our schedule. There's 2 games on Thursday. The first one is Central Arkansas at UAB. Not exactly a barn burner. We have we got an FCS squad playing an FBS squad. So usually I don't spend too much time breaking down those. I do want to cover UAB. They're a pretty good team. They returned 10 of 11 starters from a year ago on offense. Tyler Johnston, 17 touchdowns a year ago. And he's got his 2 playmakers back, Austin Watkins and Myron Mitchell. Again, I don't know if they're going to open up DraftKings. I don't know if they would have this game. I'm guessing probably not. But Austin Watkins, he's a boomer bust guy. You're going to want him. Myron Mitchell as well. Spencer Brown's their running back. He's their all-time leading rusher. But Lucius Stanley should get some carries as well. So if Lucius Stanley's cheap, if they do open up DraftKings, I'm going to be all over him. Watkins had one of the highest yards per reception last year of any receiver in the nation. And UAB likes to throw it deep. They'll run it. They weren't very successful running last year. That's kind of how they structure their offense. But to be honest, it wasn't working. Like I said, Spencer Brown's their all-time leading rusher, but he was under 4 yards a carry last year, I believe. So expect them to kind of slam it into the line of scrimmage. They'll have better success against Central Arkansas than they did last year in general. But they'll kind of slam it in the line of scrimmage, and then they'll hit some deep shots. They'll run the quarterback around a little bit. But they're going to hit some deep shots. If you watch Central Arkansas, they played on Saturday in the opener against Austin Peay. Austin Peay even hit a few deep shots on them, and they had a punter pretty much playing quarterback. Not really. If you watch that game, their quarterback was doing some punting, and he was doing a lot of it because their long snapper had COVID. But yeah, if they could hit a few deep shots late in that game when they needed stops, UAB is going to hit a lot of deep shots. They have some deep weapons. That's what they're good at. So I expect UAB to find some success here. They should shut down Central Arkansas when Central Arkansas has the ball. They have a decent quarterback. I believe his name is Brady Jones, Central Arkansas, but he really struggled last week. Central Arkansas does have an advantage since they've already played a game, the only team, aside from Austin Peay, to have played a game yet. But UAB does have film on them, and Central Arkansas won't have new film on UAB, so take that for what it's worth. But I'm not taking it for very much. UAB's defense is fantastic. They have secondary has 4 All-Conference USA performers, and they were 8th in passing D last year. So playing an FCS squad, they're not going to pass the ball well at all. Even though they did get the ball rolling, they had like 300 yards against Austin Peay in the second half. So they're a decent offense. They're not going to get shut out, but not much success. I don't see them getting past 20. So I'll give them maybe 17 points. This UAB defense returns 9 starters. They finished in the top 10 nationally in the last 2 years. They dominate the line of scrimmage last week. So they have 92 sacks and 217 tackles for loss over the last 2 years. That's extremely good for UAB. They're a good, solid squad. Austin Peay's pretty much whole D-line had COVID last week. So imagine going from that, playing a bunch of backups, and all of a sudden you're playing a UAB squad that has 217 tackles for loss in the last 2 years. It's not going to go well for Central Arkansas. There's no betting line open. Usually I like to bet UAB. Didn't bet them in the bowl game against App State because they were playing App State. Very similar squad, just better. But I'm never betting against UAB if they do open the line. If it's too wide, I might not take it because like UAB's offense, I don't think they're going to put up 50. They're not that kind of team. But if you get a decent line, not a bad idea to go with that. Next up, we got South Alabama and Southern Miss. This is a pretty decent game on Thursday. I guess they don't even have it announced what time it's going to be at here. Southern Miss is a decent squad. They're pretty consistent. They finished with 7 wins last year. And South Alabama is not consistent whatsoever. They had 2 wins. It was pretty pathetic, honestly. But they did get better at the end of the year, which is one reason I'm eyeing the South Alabama squad to see how they do. They had Desmond Trotter at quarterback for the last 3 games of the year. And one of those was a 4-point win over Arkansas State. They pulled a huge upset in the last game of the year. I don't remember what that line was, but I'm guessing it was around 20 points for Arkansas State. And it was a straight-up loss. Desmond Trotter did that as a freshman. He came in. He had a 151.8 passer rating when he took over late in the year. The kid might be pretty good. USA's scoring average against FBS teams was 11.4. It was awful. They were one of the worst offenses in college football. And then when Trotter took over, they averaged 26 points over the last 4 games. So I guess he got 4 games of action in. So 11.4 to 26. I mean, it was night and day, and they pulled a big upset. It wasn't like it was against complete scrubs. So that's something to monitor. I don't really want to bet against this team. They have an experienced O-line. Their receivers are the strength of this group. They return 6 of the top 7 wideouts, Kawan Baker and Tolbert. Pretty good options. This should be the best team that this coach has, Campbell. They only allowed 40 points once all season, which is not usual to see from a 2-win squad. Or they only allowed 40 points once last year, all year, and it was against Memphis, who played in the New Year's Six Bowl. So this South Alabama team, while they're not good, they were 2 wins, like I said. The offense got way better, and the defense wasn't bad. So I don't think this is too bad of a squad. I'm not betting against them. My one worry for the defense is that they allowed 65% completion rate against them. So they allowed a lot of dinks and dunks. They didn't give up a whole lot of big plays. But Jack Abraham, that plays right into his game. Southern Miss's quarterback. He is the king of just completing passes. He's the king of accuracy. I believe his completion percentage is 68%. It was at 73% one year. Drew Brees-like completion percentage. Not to compare him to Drew Brees or anything. But Jack Abraham's a good quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks that you'll find in the group of 5. But I have some worries with Southern Miss. They have a new offensive coordinator. And while I do believe that this will be a good offensive coordinator because they've been consistent under head coach Jay Hobson, I would just prefer to see it first with a strange offseason. They're changing on offense for the 3rd year in a row. Like I said, this OC, he comes from Louisiana Monroe, and he had some good offenses there under the radar. But I'm not sure. They had 6 players opt out, and one of them was, I think he was one of their best receivers last year, Jalen Adams. He's not playing. Quez Watkins got drafted by the Eagles. Like I said with Abraham, he does a lot of dinking and dunking, and a lot of his damage came on dinking and dunking to Quez Watkins. He would just take him to the house. The guy was phenomenal, and he's not around anymore. He doesn't have that blanket anymore. Tim Jones is a pretty good receiver, but like I said, they had 3 good receivers last year, and now we only know of one of them who's going to show up this year. Somebody could step up, but like I said, I like to see it first. The ground game was terrible last year, 3.5 yards per carry. That's Southern Alabama's weakness is run defense. And I don't think they're going to take advantage. South Alabama's rush defense was ranked number 1 and 102 in yards allowed per game. Sounds bad, but Southern Miss was 121 in rush yards per game, so I think that'll be a wash. The new coordinator said he's going to want to get the running game going. Of course he is, but who knows how long that's going to take. They do return a lot of offensive linemen, but they weren't any good at run blocking last year. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see it. One reason I do think Southern Miss is still going to pull out the game, I wouldn't have any faith in them to cover the 15 points. They could. If anything, I'd take the under. It's around 53.5. But I don't know. There's two pretty good quarterbacks, so I don't think I want to do that. But Southern Miss's defense is pretty good. Their pass defense, in particular, I think Twiter. I don't think he's going to have a huge game, even though I like him. I think he'll have a decent game. But Southern Miss's pass D returned most of their players, and they were phenomenal. They were one of the best in the league last year. So I'll lay off. I would say Southern Miss does a pretty decent job here. I'd say they don't cover quite. I'll give them a 30-17 win. But like I said, these are two teams I really want to see first. I guess if anything, you could say Southern Miss is a more consistent program, and they have the better quarterback. So, but not a bad game. I'll be watching it. I will be out of town this weekend, so I have been doing some UFC coverage for the breakdown. Was 8-0 on bets last week, plus 7.96 units. I've been red hot. Dana White Contender Series. I'm on an 8-0 run in that as well. But I'm going to be out of town this weekend, so I don't know how much I'm going to be doing of UFC, and I honestly don't know how many of these games I'm going to be watching. I'll watch the Thursday night games, but yeah, I want to break them down now. That's why I'm doing this breakdown early. I know. College football finally comes back, and I leave town. What an idiot. Next up, I'm going to skip the Marshall game. Marshall should roll. Marshall's a good team. They had a weird quarterback situation. Isaiah Green should be back. But I don't know. Brendan Knox should go off. I'm not going to cover that. Middle Tennessee Army is a pretty interesting game. If you like mobile quarterbacks, this is the game for you. I'm going to start with, obviously, Army. They have that option attack. And they did lose a quarterback from a year ago, Kelvin Hopkins. But Kelvin Hopkins didn't really play a full year last year. So I don't think that'll kill him too much. They had the number 3 rushing offense last year, obviously, because they run the ball every play. But Middle Tennessee State did not have a good run defense. So how are you going to pick Middle Tennessee State with any confidence when they can't stop the run and they're playing Army? This line, I think it opened at 5. It's now down to -3.5 for Army. There's only one way I can go on that. It's Army. Middle Tennessee State, their defensive strength is the secondary. It's not going to help them at all here. Middle Tennessee allowed 4.9 yards per rush a year ago, 194 yards per game. That was number 117 in plays allowed per game. So they let teams just chew up the clock. Army was number 8 in plays per game. They love chewing up the clock. Yeah, they're just going to chew up the clock in this one, honestly. I think when Middle Tennessee has the ball, I mean, they have Asher O'Hara at quarterback. If you don't know him, one of the most exciting quarterbacks to watch. Very mobile quarterback. Ran for 1,000 yards a year ago. So he'll be decent. He'll be fun to watch, but he's not going to be on the field for long enough. I think he's going to score when he is. I expect a low-scoring game. I think Army's going to win. I don't think they'll put up a ton of points, but I'd say Army 27-21. Army. Army's just going to chew up the clock, man. Army, on the other hand, one way you can look at this is that Army's 0-6 when they allowed 24 points or more last year. But Middle Tennessee State has a good offense. They didn't hit that mark only 4 times last year. So they should shut down Asher O'Hara through the air. Not shut him down, but do a decent job. Army had a good pass defense last year, number 5 pass defense. Middle Tennessee State has a very slow offense. They're efficient. They were number 25 in yards per play. They have good offense, but they don't run a lot of plays. They're slow. And Army's going to chew up the clock. And when Middle Tennessee gets the ball, it's not like they're going to score in a hurry. They take their time to get down the field, man. So it's a bad matchup. It's a great matchup to watch, but I don't think for Middle Tennessee State to win this one. I guess I hope they do because it'd be fun to watch. Asher O'Hara have a good season, but yeah, give me Army. All right, next up we have SMU versus Texas State. I'm all over SMU here. SMU has one of the best offenses in college football. They're 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 games against the Sun Belt Conference, and that makes total sense to me. When you look at the Sun Belt Conference, you got a lot of running teams. Just look at the top, App State and Louisiana Lafayette. They have some really good rushing attacks in the Sun Belt, top to bottom. Not a ton of passing teams. So when Sun Belt teams play SMU, they're just like, holy crap, what is going on here? What are these athletes out wide? They're not used to seeing it. SMU has some of the best receiving talent in the group of 5. Reggie Roberson's going to go off. Rasheed Rice is going to go off. Kylan Branson's going to go off. Shane Buechele is going to have a huge day. It's tough to trust any offense in their first game back after such a long layoff and such a weird offseason. But if I trust anybody, it's going to be SMU. They have a clear talent advantage. Every time they play competition below them, they absolutely blow them out of the water. They have a tough time against tougher competition, but we'll see about that this year. They have Shane Buechele, who's been in college for 8 years, it seems like. Give me SMU. They're a great offense. Double-digit wins for the first time since 1984 last year. They set records for points in a season, points per game. They average 41.8 points per game. They actually set a record for sacks, too, on the other end of the ball. Last 5 years, SMU is 15-7 in the non-conference. Like I said, once they start playing the American slate, it gets a little tougher. Teams can figure them out, but in the non-con, they just kind of blow teams with lesser athletes off the field. That's exactly what I see happening here. You look at Texas State defensively, holy Toledo. Look at this. They're number 118 in returning production. That's bad. Defensively, that's 126 in returning production. Almost the worst in all of college football. And then you get to play SMU, an experienced SMU squad. It's going to be ugly. SMU team total, again, I don't know if that's going to drop. Total for the game is about 66. I guess I would take the over, but I'm not sure. Again, it's the first week. I'm not taking anything super heavy. Just giving a preview because I'm excited. I love college football. Even if I don't have any action, I love it. Breaking it down from a fantasy perspective, I love it. But they're going to put up points. If there is a team total, I'll take it. Probably all the way up to 50, with what I just outlined. So as for the game, Texas State, they have a new quarterback, so I don't know. They have some pretty decent talent offensively. Pretty decent wide receivers. They go like 5 deep. I was looking at guys, and they got some decent talent, some good transfers in there. But they have a new quarterback. I think his name's Brady McBride, Memphis transfer. So maybe he'll be decent. But, it's Texas State. So I don't know. I guess I'll predict SMU to win 52-17. SMU should roll. All right. Next up, North Texas. I'm going to skip North Texas. They're playing Houston Baptist, so who cares? Sorry, North Texas fans. Next up, very good game. Arkansas State against Memphis. Big news in this one. Kenneth Gainwell, running back for Memphis, is sitting out the season. He had 4 different family members, his dad said in the news. Saw an article floating around. Died from COVID. So just feel for that young man. But yeah, he's sitting out and breaking down this game. He's a 2,000-yard back from a year ago. It's a big loss. You'd think a running back may not be a big loss. But in college football, it does mean a lot, especially if they're 2,000-yard back. That's serious. He's an all-purpose back, too. I thought they were going to use him a lot out of the slot. And with him out, I don't know, man. They still have Coxie and they still have Brady White, so I'm high on this Memphis team. But I don't think I'd bet them or anything right now. There's only one way I could look at this game, and it would still be with Memphis. That being said, a lot of casual fans are going to look at Memphis and say, oh, well, I watched them play Penn State in the Cotton Bowl, and they got ran off the field. They gave up 50-something points, and then they lost their coach, Norvell, to Florida State. So a lot of casual fans will see that and say, it'd probably be a down year. While I don't see Memphis going back to a huge bowl game, if we even have bowl games, they're a very good squad. They're one of the best group of 5 squads. They could beat a lot of Power 5 teams. The talent is just incredible. It's just incredible. So with Silverfield taking over at head coach, he's been there at Memphis for a while. I think they'll eventually start decreasing. They'll eventually start going down just a little bit as a program because they're a phenomenal team right now. And it's not going to happen right away. They're loaded. Like I said, Brady White has gotten a lot better as a quarterback. I have faith in him, especially when he's playing not great defenses. He just tends to do fantastic. He still has Coxie out wide. I wish they had a few more proven wide receivers so I could tell what's going to happen fantasy-wise. But for now, again, I don't know if we're going to have DFS. I don't know exactly what it's going to be looking like, but I'd be all over the Memphis running backs in this one with Gainwell sitting out. Asa Martin is probably going to be the more well-owned one because he's a transfer from Auburn, 4-star. I'd have some ownership of him, but the guy I'm really looking at here is, what's his name? Rodriguez Clark. Rodriguez Clark from Memphis. I think they just put out a depth chart, and he was number 1. I've seen nothing. Only time I've ever seen Memphis in the news over the offseason has been for coaches to talk about how good Rodriguez Clark has been doing in camp. This rushing attack is no joke. If DFS does open, I'll probably have some lineups where I play both Martin and Clark. They're probably going to give a few different guys carries. I don't know how many carries Kylan Watkins is, so I guess he could screw with us a little bit. But, yeah, man, Memphis is number 29 in returning production. Arkansas State's defense is really not good, number 93 in returning production. And like I said, they just lost to South Alabama last game of the year. So they're a good squad. I like Arkansas State. I think they're going to be competitive, but this is just not a good matchup for them at all. They're just going to get the ball's just going to be run all over the place. Memphis could average over 8 yards a pop in this one. And if they want to, Brady White could throw for 5 touchdowns, or it could both happen. So, yeah, I'm not betting on Arkansas State. Arkansas State does have a very good offense. They had a number 7 passing offense last year. Logan Bonner was just announced as the starting quarterback. But that plays right into the hands of Memphis. Memphis has had the number 20 pass offense in the country last year. And quite frankly, they might have the best player of all group of 5 players. It might be a cornerback, TJ Carter. So he should match up with Adams. It's just a bad matchup for Arkansas State. So I see Memphis winning somewhat easily. I guess Arkansas State could make it close if they go up a little early. And Memphis doesn't quite have their game plan figured out. But I think it's easy for Memphis. The game plan is just average 8 yards a pop and throw a few over the top whenever you want to. So give me Memphis. I'll say final score, Memphis 42, Arkansas State, I'll give them 27, 42-27. All right, last game I'm going to talk about here. I wouldn't bet anything on that, by the way. I probably was going to bet Memphis before the Gainwell news, but I don't know anymore. Coxie should have a good day. White should have a good day. They're DFS options if that opens up. I probably wouldn't play Arkansas State's quarterbacks. They have a good offense, but like I said, they're playing the number 20 pass defense. No, actually, I'd give them a look because they'll probably be playing from behind, and they have a good passing offense. I don't think they're going to do much running the ball. So Marcel Murray, maybe he'll get a touchdown or 2. So it's worth a look. Should be a high-scoring game. So you could do a lot worse, honestly. I think Jonathan Adams, it's hard to say if TJ Carter's going to be guarding him, but if he is, I don't think Adams is going to have a great day. He might get some catches. He'll get some targets, obviously, because he's one of the better wide receivers fantasy-wise. But I'd look somewhere else. Maybe Dahu Green, former Oklahoma wide receiver. I think Dahu Green is a secondary option depending on, if they open up prices and what his price is. I think it'll be pretty cheap. All right, last game I'm going to go over. It's on Monday, Labor Day, September 7th. This one's fun, folks. This one's very fun. BYU versus Navy. Just a weird matchup. I think BYU starts with Navy, and then the week after, they get Army. So, 2 triple option offenses in a row. You would think they're going to be preparing for that straight out of the gates. They have all offseason to prepare. Usually you like to see that. So that's initially making me lean BYU's way. I think I kind of like this BYU squad. They seem to play at the level of their competition. They play so many close games. And this one I think is going to be very close. All right, so first off, BYU's passing offense, pretty good. Number 26 last year, Zach Wilson at quarterback. I think he's getting better every year. I think he's going to have a good year. He's inconsistent, but when he gets it together, this kid's pretty awesome. Navy passing defense was number 38 last year. That's really good for them. Typically, that's been a huge weakness for them, just a huge weakness in American play, in AAC play. And last year it got a lot better. They had a new defensive coordinator. Forgive me, don't have his name ready. but they made vast improvements on that side of the ball to the point where their defense was pretty much the strength of this team. So I don't know. It's pretty clear to see they had a new coordinator, and that might continue. So I'm not willing to bet against that. I'm not willing to bet on regression on this one. BYU, number 26 in returning production on offense. You'd like to see that. Like I said, I kind of like both of these teams. This is a very fun matchup. I'm not one of those college football fans who only cares about Power 5. I love fun matchups. I love these group of 5 teams. There's just so much information out there, and this one's tough to call. S&P Plus, they're almost dead even. Navy's 55, BYU's 53. BYU 13-3 against the spread as a road dog last 5 years. 13-3. They're a road dog here. Thing is, they're a road dog of 1 point now because the line's going down. BYU was around 3.5, and I liked them at that number because, like I said, every single one of their games seems to come down to the very last play. But now it's at +1. It's a little tougher for me. If anything, I'd probably still be on BYU's side, but it's close, man. My one worry with them, they don't have a fantastic rush defense, and they're playing Navy, man. Number 62 in yards per carry allowed. They're switching to a 4-man D-line front. I don't know if that's exactly something you want to be doing, trying out a new scheme defensively against this offensive attack. I mean, I don't know. That's tough. That might have me off a bet. They gave up 167 yards on the ground per game last year. 4.23 yards per carry. They didn't seem very dynamic to me. I don't see a ton of reason for improvement unless that D-line switch pays off, or they have some guys I'm just not aware of. But I don't know. The offense, though, their offensive staff is in year 3 together. I see them getting better every year. I think they will have a very solid offense eventually. But they do lose their top 3 wide receivers. I think they have talent to fill in. But game 1, where you lose your top 3 receivers, I mean, they do have Matt Bushman, tight end. They do have, I don't remember if it's Gunner Romney or Baylor. Baylor Romney? They have 2 Romneys. Whichever one the wide receiver is going to have a good year. They had Epps, good recruit. I don't know. Week 1 against what was a very good Navy defense. It's tough, man. This is going to be a very good game. I think it's going to take BYU a while to get going. I do think Navy's going to control the clock. You don't really want to bet against a team that you know probably is going to lose the time of possession battle and, quite frankly, does not have a fantastic rush defense. Again, it's not terrible, but I'd like to see better. They haven't seen an option offense in years, so yeah, they're preparing for it, but new scheme, I don't know, man. As far as Navy, okay, it's Brian Newberry. Brian Newberry is their defensive coordinator. The guy seems to be phenomenal. I like the way Navy's coached. So coming out week 1, that was their best defense statistically since 2004. Last year was. They have 7 returning starters. This was an 11-2 team last year. A lot of people don't realize that. They won their bowl game. They won 11-2. But they lose Malcolm Perry at quarterback, and that's the big worry. The guy's a star. Ran for 2,000 yards as a college quarterback. He was the first one to ever do that. That's impressive. That's tough to lose. That's really, really, really tough to lose. I'm sure it's plug and play at Navy, but their rushing offense was even better than normal for them. Like, it was highly efficient last year in losing Perry. I don't know. It's hard for me to take either side. If anything, I have to take BYU. I definitely would have taken them at +3, +3.5, but now that it's +1, probably lay off. I know that's boring. Maybe if I have to, day of, I'll take BYU if I'm just itching for some action. But fantasy-wise, Zach Wilson's not bad, quarterback for BYU. You can pretty much take a flyer on, there's about 4 of these BYU guys, so maybe once they release the final depth chart, take a look at it. I think Romney looks good in spring practice. There are a lot of clips of him. But they had a few other guys who were doing pretty well. Probably wouldn't take Epps yet, the freshman, until we see him on the field. As far as Navy, I mean, Jamal Carruthers, man, this guy had 14 touchdowns last year. I'm usually not huge on him in fantasy, but he can have some blow-up spots. And against a team like BYU that's switching up their front, they were, here we go. Here's the stat I was looking for. BYU was they had 16.2% stuff rate defensively. That was 107th in the country last year. They do return all their front seven, so maybe that'll be a little better. But if you can't stuff your opponent at the line of scrimmage and you're playing Navy, you're probably going to lose the time of possession badly, even with the new quarterback. So I don't know, man. It's tough. I think Carruthers, he's very boom or bust. He has some big games. This could be a big game for him with a team that can't stuff the ball. So if you're willing to throw that in DFS, I wouldn't go too heavy. But Carruthers, he's a very good player. Maybe he gets even more looks with how we finished the season. So you could do a lot worse than that. Other than that, I know Navy had one of their wingbacks, tailbacks, whatever they call them, the guys around the outside on the option. He's opting out. So that's not fantastic, but those guys are pretty much plug and play. CJ Williams is pretty darn good. I actually thought he had a chance to be the starting quarterback this year. I know that's crazy. He's not a quarterback, but we've seen stranger things, and he's one of the best athletes they have. He might be the best athlete they have on offense. I like playing him, so that's a decent look here. He'll catch some passes, but I think a lot of that last year was his connection with Malcolm Perry, because they actually had a decent passing offense last year. But with the new quarterback, I don't know. I might take a swing or two on CJ Williams, but I wouldn't load up. So yeah, that's what I have here. I'm not playing anything crazy right now. The only thing I'm going to add officially is SMU minus 20.5. I grabbed that. I might be looking at the over in that game. Not sure yet. Memphis might be looking at an over there. Maybe a team total over if it gets released. And then I'll probably end up playing Army since it got bet down. It's at minus 3.5. I might play that. I could see that being a field goal game though. So I don't know. The under's worth a look there. It's somewhere in the low 50s. Let me find it for you. It's at 54.5. That's not bad. Southern Miss, Alabama, or South Alabama, Southern Miss. I might look at a play in the first half under. Like I said, the strengths and weaknesses just kind of cancel each other out in a lot of aspects of that game, and expect them to come out flat like most of these teams. So I think a first half under play, even though it'll probably be fairly low in Southern Miss, Alabama, if that ends up getting released, I'd probably play that. But anyway, follow me at YonkersCFB on Twitter. TheBreakdownSports.com has a lot of action for you. There's NBA going on, MLB going on, NHL going on, UFC, NFL's coming back. I'll probably miss some sport. I'm sorry about that. Whatever sport I miss. But there's a lot of action. BreakdownSports.com, we have you covered. You can follow me on Twitter. If I do end up releasing any official plays, I'll probably tweet about it. But we do have some folks, Sam and Rex at the Breakdown, who usually come out with their betting articles on college football. So keep an eye on them. I'll be keeping up these Breakdown preview shows. I'm going to see how this one goes. This is kind of a test run. Not many games this week. I'm trying out the new format. Hopefully this stream's okay. It seems like it's going fine on my end, but we'll see. If you have any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter. I'll probably have, again, we'll see if DFS ends up happening. I'll have DFS content weekly, betting information, just basically a preview. I'm just interested in watching these games. Like I said, I'm a fan first. There's nothing better than just laying on my lazy butt all day long on Saturdays, just cracking up at the dumb games, watching dumb plays, loving the good plays, loving the fantasy, long touchdowns. When your guy goes off and you know he's going to go off and he goes for 5 touchdowns because it's college, and that happens every week if you find the right spot. I just missed it, man. I missed it a lot, in case you can't tell. I'm so excited. Even that opener against the Central Arkansas and Austin Peay. I guess I'm technically 1-0 on the year. I had Central Arkansas, but I got lucky as hell. I had a -5. This went all the way down the field in 40 seconds to go up 5, and then they went for 2 to to make it a 7-point game, and they got it. So I was lucky. But I didn't. That was just for fun because I didn't know that much about those teams. But yeah, it's going to be a great year. I'm looking forward to it. So thanks for hanging